Hi, I'm Patricia Greenberg, and you are here with us at It's Okay to Be Old, a show about all things aging well. My guest today, Stella Fosse, is a woman who is letting the world know it's okay to live a rich, full life at any age. She's a writer, a writing coach, published author, blogger, and all around advocate for living and loving life after 60. Welcome, Stella.
Thanks. It's great to be with you.
I love your website. I'm always lifting things from it, I have to tell you. And your writing is just LinkedIn, Facebook, Substack, it's all over. And I love it, love it, love it. All around us, women make discoveries, make love, run companies, and run countries. So, wow, right? I mean, that's so true. And it's not even like we've arrived. We've been here all along, right? Women have been here as long as men, no difference. So, what
Maybe longer.
events, I just want to ask you, what events in your life led you to become a force of nature at this stage in your life?
Well, thanks for that. When I turned 60, I didn't feel decrepit or frail or any of those things that we're told we will feel as we get older. In fact, I felt great. So I decided that in my next stage of life, as my career was winding down, as my kids were flying the nest, that I was going to do the things I'd always wanted to do, like write books, lift weights, and have a great love life. So I've done those things and encouraged other women to enjoy their 60s as well.
Wonderful. And 70s and 80s and 90s, right? That's what,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I'm into my 70s
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. It's fabulous. I think we're being heard now. And as each of us continue to be bold, be out there and share our stories, more and more people are listening. That's for sure. But before we get into your new work, tell us a little bit about your writing and publishing history. Has it always been geared towards older women?
Well, my career for most of my life was writing, but it was a whole different kind of writing. I was in biotech and I wrote submissions for new products to the Food and Drug Administration, which was a great career, but everything I wrote is sitting in dusty file drawers at FDA and was only ever read by a couple of people. So when I was about to leave that career, my friend Lynx Cannon invited me and some of her other friends who were writers to write erotic stories for and about older women and read them at her Dirty Old Women reading series back in Oakland, California, back in the day. And that was kind of like jumping into the deep end of the pool. It was a lot of fun. It was challenging. And ever since then, I've been writing fiction with older women main characters and writing essays on topics that are of interest to those of us who are women of a certain age.
You know, we've talked before a couple of times. You've been on the show, and I
Mhm.
like to, even at the risk of repeating myself, I like to say that when you write stories geared towards older women,
Mhm.
you get pushback that's not what I want to read. I want to read about young love and first meet and all that kind of stuff.
That's interesting. I think for some women, there's who are reading books, there's that impulse to recapture their younger years. But then you read the flip side too. Lots of times, if you look at Amazon reviews from readers of books about older women, let's say romance novels that have older characters, the reviewers will say things like, I am so glad I found this book. I'm so tired of reading books about women who are so much younger, and I want to read about real stories about women our age. So yeah, there's two impulses there, I think. And I do think there's a big readership for stories by and about older women.
Do you pull out the sense when you write about older women feeling like I have less time to find love or I have less time to enjoy life? I keep hearing from people that get a second chance at life and love. And I mean, I love this one story. My friend was 75 and she was introduced to a man in his 90s, and she said it was the best relationship she ever had. They had a
Mm-hmm.
full, very short period of time together, but it
Yeah.
was wonderful. So, that whole idea of take away that urgency, right? That feeling of, oh, I don't have a lot of time left. I got to hurry, hurry, hurry. You can have that same slow, beautiful, glowing, growing romance at 65, 75, and 85.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I met my partner when we were both in our 60s, our early 60s. We've been together now over 10 years, and it's just been lovely. And there's a sense in which there's a sort of poignancy to knowing that you don't have that huge number of years ahead. I think in a way it makes you appreciate what you have even more.
Did you find combining lives at that age difficult?
Um, yeah, I think there were challenges. I mean, if you're getting together at that point in life, your kids are already grown up and established. So so there's a whole process of developing that blended family that's different than if your kids were in grade school, let's say. Um, but no, I think in a lot of ways it was way easier. I think we just, we found that we were really compatible with each other. You know what you're looking for in your 60s in a way that you don't in your 20s.
Are your children happy for you?
Oh yeah,
Oh, good.
they really are. Yeah.
Because that's one of the, I think, stumbling blocks people who are trying to find love and romance and life at any capacity at an older age is what if my children don't approve or what if my family don't does not approve? What do I do? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
in a sense, you know, if your kids are already fledged and on their own, there's also a sense in which you've developed an adult to adult relationship with them. And there's a sort of mutual respect that's going on about how you treat them and how they treat you. So maybe there's less of an impulse to be judgmental.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, it's a strange transition for a kid to see their parent be, as an adult rather than as a parent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a strange transition for the parent too.
See their child as a full-grown adult.
Yeah.
Leave them
Yeah,
alone, right? And let them live their lives. Right, right. That's the
exactly.
biggest challenge, right?
Yeah.
Stella, you have a new book out, Rock On, Power, Sex, and Money After 60.
Yeah, I have it right here. Here it is, show
Yeah.
and tell.
Yeah,
There
there
it
you
is.
go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. And I will tell you as a reader reviewer, I want to see people persevere into older adulthood with positivity and optimism. And I just really feel like this book just does that for the reader. So tell us about how this came about.
When I turned 70, I had been writing blogs and essays for online magazines for 10 years. And I had the impulse to synthesize the best of those essays and really look at the freedom and the enjoyment of this part of life and bring all that information together in a book. So the book centers on 10 different themes that I think are especially relevant for us, including things like healthcare, hearkening back to my biotech background, and also our relationship with our bodies, our sexuality, our creativity, our sense of purpose, those kinds of things that I think are universal for those of us at that stage of life.
There's a lot of a lot of angst among people who are aging that worry about I'm no longer going to be appealing.
Mhm, mhm,
Whether it's, I always use that you're just uncool. You don't have the lingo of the 20-year-olds. And let's be really honest, you don't necessarily have the stamina or the
mhm.
energy of a person, 40 years younger than you. So, let's talk about how do we really get that across to someone that it's okay. My business, it's okay to be old, but it's okay to be in your 60s and 70s, and you do that a little slower and your tummy has a little bit of a paunch and you have a little gray hair, but that doesn't make you uncool or horrible. It's just part of that life cycle. And I've read so much research that somebody's satisfaction in life, whether it's financial, sexual, family, it has nothing to do with what you look like and how old you are. It's how open and receptive you are to enjoying your life at any age.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I think you get to the point where you don't care about being cool and that actually makes you cool. Um, so that's part of it. And another thing I think about a lot is this line from a Leonard Cohen song. He said, "Ring the bells that still can ring." And and that seems to me to be this one of the main secrets to happiness in our 60s and beyond, to appreciate what we do have right now.
This is kind of a two-part question I have for you. How do you feel the relaxing of society shoulds and shouldn'ts and mores and taboos change the way we view love and sexuality? Do you think our generation has embraced it in the same way the young people do? I don't want to say anything goes. Not everybody feels that way, but
Yeah.
it's okay and it's natural and it's totally wonderful and beautiful to want to have a sex life and a romance
Mhm.
life. How is our society accepting that at an older age now? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I think there's a lot to that. I mean, one thing is for those of us who grew up in the 50s, we grew up at a time when there were really puritanical expectations, especially for women. And for a lot of us, it takes a long time to outgrow that. Even if the society around us is changing, we're still carrying those social expectations from our youth. It takes a long time to kind of get to the point where you don't care as much about those voices that you internalized early. And maybe you don't care as much even about society's expectations. I mean, let's face it, there may be more of an anything goes attitude, but I don't think that society's expectations or attitudes about older sexuality have changed that much. They're starting to. I mean, we're seeing, a movie like Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, the Emma Thompson movie that was so fabulous. That wouldn't have been made 10
Right,
years.
right, right.
So there's movement in the direction of society accepting that older people continue to have sexuality, but we're not there yet. I mentioned earlier about the Dirty Old Women reading series. We used to have we had a packed audience every time. And a lot of the people in the audience, surprisingly to me, were younger women, were women in their 30s. And they'd come up to us afterwards and they'd say, "Thank you for sharing these stories because we're getting the message from society that part of life ends at 40," which of course is absolutely not true. So this is complicated, this, society's expectations. Um, they might be evolving, but maybe not as much for us.
What I find interesting when I was doing some research about this, again, twofold, is that uh, Hollywood and entertainment would hide the fact, like a pinup girl or a famous, beautiful actress who was a sex symbol, they'd hide the fact that they were married or hide the fact that they had a child, because then you're no longer sexy after you've had a child.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember that being, I had my daughter at 40, but a lot of my friends had their kids in their 20s. I can remember, I have some friends that, I was on that cusp. I graduated high school in 78. So I always say in those years, you could either go to college or you could stay home. It wasn't frowned upon. You could go to a vocational school, or you could take a job without secretary, hairdresser, whatever it is, without the traditional schooling, or
Hmm.
you could become a professional, get a PhD, get a doctorate. I was just on that cusp of being able to choose.
Yeah.
So I had friends who got married right out of school and had children at 19 and 20. And then I went on and pursued all kinds of things. And then I had my daughter at 40. And
Hmm.
but I remember how well it stood out in my mind, even when I had Gabriella, that some of the younger women who were in their 20s felt like, well, now I'm a mother, I can't wear spandex in the supermarket. Or now that I'm a mother, I can't. I'm thinking to myself, like they say to me, "You're 40 and you still run marathons," or "You're 40 and you still," like I couldn't believe the negativity and pushback coming at me. I talk about this a lot, that all of a sudden you're just you you created another human being and now you're useless to a man, right? You know,
Mm,
the other thing that and I want to get back to the book in this second, but
yeah.
what talk to me a little bit about the trend, which I think is wonderful. Women outnumber men in every age group. Women survive from birth forward, survive longer than men. And one of the things that's come up that I'm researching is women who are not finding partners are seeking out companionship with other women. I think that's fantastic.
Mhm.
And I don't know if men are doing it as well, but women are saying, why not? I'm at a point now, I don't have to worry about money. I don't have to worry about rearing children. I just need companionship and some sexuality and some
Mhm.
love. Why not? I think it's wonderful. How taboo is that still in our society?
I suppose it depends on where you live.
Mhm.
Really, a lot. I mean, I think in Berkeley, California, nobody would bat an eye. In rural Idaho, they probably would.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, I think it really depends. There's such a variety of cultures in our country. It's a big place and lots of different outlooks. But yeah, I think it's great. We should find love if we want at whatever age. And yeah, it's really true that the older we get, the more of a difference there is in the number of available women versus men.
yes,
So
yes, yes.
yeah, why not?
Getting back to rock on power, sex, and money after 60.
Okay.
I really like the way you laid the book out. It's a great reference to keep going back to and keep going back and
Mhm.
just rereading. And can you speak to how you sectioned it out for the reader?
Sure. When I had started thinking about doing an essay collection, I had written, as I said, I'd written all these essays over a number of years, and I had the good luck to go to a workshop led by a great writer named Patrice Gopo, and she has published two different books that are essay collections, and she ran this workshop where she talked about what her system was for doing that. And the goal was to end up with not just a bunch of essays stuck together between two covers, but to have a coherent body of work that connected together. And and she talked about setting up a spreadsheet and putting everything you've written into the spreadsheet and having different categories. Is this essay about sexuality? Is it about creativity? Is it about, what it, that those are my categories. Somebody else might have a whole different set of categories, of course. So I did that. I took everything I'd written and I put it in this spreadsheet and I looked at what was what was the best of what was there and what was duplicative and how they connected with each other. And it was a great process to go through. I ended up Some essays were kind of duplicates of each other, but I took different parts of different essays and put them together. And there were places where there were gaps where in a category like spirit, for example, I hadn't written as much. So it was fabulous. It was fabulous to go through that process and realize that I had over 10 years come back to certain topics over and over again, like what is our purpose? And I'd had different insights at different points in time. And to put it all together in a way that made sense and that flowed was really rewarding.
That's amazing. So that's a testament to all of us who write is that we still take writing classes and we still reach out to mentors to help us write, help us express ourselves, help us lay the book out and put it in
Right.
some sort of order. So for anybody who's listening who's interested in the topic in terms of writing or sharing information, keep learning how to do it. That is a really, really important part of it. And
It,
there's an art to keeping that in order, to keeping all the stuff going on in our heads and all that's on paper and putting it into one standard book is not an easy process. Yeah.
yeah, but it's again, it's a very rewarding process. Actually, one of my Substack essays is about that process, how to craft a book of essays. So anybody who's interested in that particular thing, if you've been writing short pieces over a number of years, you might want to take a look at that on uh, Creative Crones with Stella Fosse on Substack.
Stella, what do you recommend, I guess is the right word, for when somebody is wanting to feel powerful and yet they're feeling left behind or less than or overwhelmed or overpowered?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're talking about somebody who's our age?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
lose their sense. And you know what's really interesting is that a lot of us feel like, well, I never had any power anyway. You always had power somewhere in your
Mhm.
life. You had it's what do you have control over in your life? And I mean that in a good way, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, what are your words of wisdom to someone who wants to feel that?
I think that when we're older, part of the feeling of not having power can come from having internalized ageism over a period of years. Having these, we talked earlier about how surprising it can be to get to be 60 or 65 and realize that your life is nothing like the stereotypes. But it's also at the same time, it's also possible to have sort of negative self-talk because you've internalized all these messages about ageism from the culture. So, there are ways to push back on that, ways to free yourself. And one of the best things to do, I think, is to take some of that freedom that we have, as our kids grow up and become independent, and as we wind down our full-time work life, take some of that freedom and just play. Find things that you used to enjoy. What did you love to do when you were a kid? Were you a dinosaur collector? Did you like to play with clay? What was it that you enjoyed? Did you like writing when you were a kid? And explore doing that just for fun now. I think that creativity is one of the keys to recapture our sense of agency as we age.
It also puts us in a place of um, there's no competition. You're not competing with another person to get to a finish line. And you're doing
That's right.
something creative, whether it's painting or knitting or sewing,
Hmm.
play work or gardening or learning a new sport, a new activity. One of the
Yep.
things that I have been thinking a lot about is that we fear something going wrong with us, right? We fear becoming sick. I'm like, go take an anatomy class and find out how your body works. Instead of
Mhm.
saying, well, there's something going on with my lungs or there's something going on with my stomach or something. Well, where is it? What is it? I don't know. It's just somewhere in my stomach. Go take a course or go get online and learn about what it is that how your body works. Never mind any particular ailment, just what it is that is going on in your body on a daily basis. I mean, it's very that could be alone as something to, that's a you could get lost in that rabbit hole really, really easily, is what I'm saying. It's a bottomless pit. There's so much to learn.
I
Yeah,
think that's really important. One of the you were talking about self-empowerment. I think one of the things at this point in life that's really empowering is to become an active participant in your healthcare team. And in order to do that, it's really important to learn about your body. And as you're saying, read up on whatever might be concerning to you at this point in life.
exactly.
Uh, I was in biotech, so I love to read medical journal articles when I have a question, but there are other sources. There's the Harvard Health Letter. For people who don't have that kind of training, there the there are societies that focus on particular health issues that have information, the American Cancer Society, for example. There are lots of ways for people who don't have scientific training to learn from reliable sources. I'm not talking about, AI
Right, just
trying
getting
to.
online with something. Right, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. But the Mayo Clinic has a whole menu of different health conditions where you can read reliable information about what's going on for you. And then ask questions when you go to the doctor. Show up with a list and
Right.
don't let the doctor leave until you have all your questions answered. Follow him down the hall if you have to.
I've done
But
that actually. I said, wait,
yeah.
I'm not done. There's one more. So I also like to say to bring someone with you if you can. Bring an advocate with you. So that this is a second pair of ears and eyes on what you're being told.
Hmm.
That's
That's a really good idea, especially if there's a concerning diagnosis. I
yes.
did that when I had my breast cancer diagnosis. I took my partner with me, and it really is helpful to have another person in the room.
We had that where my husband's not allowed to go to the doctor without me. It's an ongoing thing now because he always comes home and says, I'm fine. What did he say? Oh, I'm fine. And
Uh-huh.
we the doctor had given him his PSA level, and to me it was alarming. And Aaron says, well, he said older men always have an elevated PSA. I said, I don't like that. And I pulled a few strings and I got an immediate appointment at the urologist, and he had stage 3 prostate cancer.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's fine now. Thank goodness it was all
Oh,
taken care of and it didn't spread. But if he had not even told me when he came home that
yeah,
what, that was, I guess it was bothering him in the back of his mind, and I
yeah.
took action and we acted right away. But that's the kind of crap that slips through the cracks if you don't stay on top of it. You've got to be, yeah. And I love what you're saying about that, being proactive in every aspect of your life. Now,
Hmm.
what's most important to you now in terms of what you'd like, for you and the older female feeling, doing, seeing? What do you have going on now that's on the horizon for you?
I've gotten really interested in how we reach out to, for those of us who are writing books, how do we reach out to women who might be interested in reading our books? How do we build that community of writers and readers? So I've been talking with an organization called the Grandmother Collective about starting something that we're going to call Crone Authors Together. And we're going to have a monthly online get together where we share our ideas and successes about reaching out to potential readers. Because let's face it, women our age are many of us are avid readers, and many of us have the time to be reading books. And building our culture together is just going to be really key for our success as we move through this part of life.
I think that's great. And I think book clubs are an all-time high now
Mhm.
in person and also online. And people are absolutely clamoring for information about what other people their own age are going through. Um,
Yeah.
I can send people to your website for that. For more information, you can go see Stella Fosse at www.stellafosse, just like it sounds, STELLAFOSSE.com. It'll be on the show when we air it. Stella, thank you so much. As usual, so wonderful to see you. And in closing, I want to thank you, for joining us and sharing with us that it's okay to have love, life, business activities, feel empowered at any age. And of
Hmm.
course, Stella, I want to know, what do you like about getting older?
Oh, I like the freedom of it. I just love having the time and opportunity to do the things that I love most, whether it's writing a book or hanging out with my grandson. This is a fabulous part of life.
Yeah, wonderful. And I want to thank all of you for listening to It's Okay to Be Old. And please subscribe to our channel for more engaging discussions about all things aging well. And for feedback and topic requests, please contact me at www.patriciagreenberg.com. Stella, again, thank you so much. Stay well, stay happy, and look
Thank,
forward to more conversations about this.
wonderful. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you.